Look at this new picture of a massive avalanche touched off by that magnitude 7.8 earthquake that hit Nepal on Saturday. The avalanche slammed directly into a base camp filled with climbers.
So much destruction, and this morning a major new aftershock, magnitude 6.7, setting off new avalanches. These fresh pictures of efforts to treat and rescue the wounded, just heartbreaking atop the world's highest mountain. And we are now learning that 2 Americans are among the dead.
Meanwhile, in the city of Kathmandu, the legendary capital of Nepal, today's big aftershock creating a new round of panic in this ancient city, parts of which are now leveled and where more than 2,000 people have died. We're going to get the latest now from ABC's Hamish McDonald. Hamish.
Yeah, Dan, good morning. There is breaking news this morning, and that is those fresh avalanches on Mount Everest triggered by that massive aftershock. There are now grave fears for large groups of climbers who are stuck on the face of Mount Everest. We now know that 2 Americans are among the dead, and the death toll stands at well over 2,000 from this devastating earthquake. This morning, buildings buckling in Nepal. A 6.7 aftershock sending an already shaken community running. Now a race to find those buried in the rubble. The earthquake that hit the Kathmandu region Saturday, claiming more than 2,100 lives in 4 countries. That number expected to rise. Victims flooding hospitals, survivors spending the night outside, fearful of the same power that brought this pole down onto a car and turned this once gleaming monument into a pile of bricks. The original magnitude 7.8 earthquake felt by nearly 6 million people in Nepal, India, China and Bangladesh, even unleashing massive avalanches 100 miles away on Mount Everest.
We had quite a few big avalanches coming down.
Dramatic new images show helicopters now rescuing injured climbers, but others still trapped, like Colorado native Jim Davidson, who is tweeting out safety updates, and American Ryan Waters, who called his friend Eric Larson via satellite phone.
Ryan did mention that there was some triage going on. The first step is really assessing who needs to be helped immediately versus who can be helped later on.
Luann Freer, a Montana doctor, part of a Mount Everest rescue team, speaking to ABC News over the phone while en route to aid her colleagues at base camp.
Our team is exhausted and nervous and feeling very unsettled about whether they can get their patients out. Many of them are critically injured and need surgery.
The avalanche killing 17 climbers total, including at least 2 Americans, among them Google exec Daniel Fredenberg, documenting this climb along with previous voyages on his social media accounts. His former girlfriend and actress Sophia Bush posting, "I'm devastated, simultaneously so deeply grateful to have known and loved him." Google now helping in the search for survivors with its new Person Finder tool, an effort to reunite loved ones in the worst disaster to strike Nepal in over 80 years. And we are now, in fact, learning more about that American Dan Fredenberg who was on Mount Everest. He was there to build something called Google Adventure, which would have been a virtual tour of the world's tallest peak. It would have given all of us the opportunity to see this mountain, on which there are now so many lives at stake.
Hamish, thank you. And for perspective, we do want to bring in Brian Dickinson, a veteran climber. Brian, I know you're joining us from Seattle this morning. Thanks for joining us. We're hearing that base camps have been destroyed and a lot of the climbers' supplies and gear are just gone. Are they basically trapped at Everest, and how tough is it going to be, as you mentioned, for the rescuers to reach them?
Right. So at base camp, it's 38 miles on foot. You can get helicopters in, but the weather's been really bad. And you really have to prioritize the wounded over the dead at this point.
Yeah, mental toughness is an understatement there, and so many climbers are unaccounted for this morning. Is this really becoming a race against time?
It is, because base camp alone is at 17,500 feet, so you're at altitude, and as you get higher, you can't really survive for long. You have to acclimate, and typically base camp is a safe area. I mean, this earthquake that triggered the avalanche there, it was like a bomb dropping off in base camp. It rarely happens. You'll see avalanches, all around base camp, but not to this magnitude.
You said you've heard about the running and screaming, they don't know where to go. You do have friends scattered all over Everest right now. Communication is limited. You've heard from them, but not all of them?
Right. So I've heard people checking in from, I have friends that are trapped above the ice fall right now. I have, people that I know that are in base camp that are really just working the medical needs right now. People on the north side, which are, stuck not knowing what to do because the Sherpa community that helps out the climbers up there, which are porters and, climbing guides, their families, there's just a huge unknown of, what happened because their villages and houses are destroyed and there's just really not communication. So my friend Pasong, who I climbed Everest with back in 2011, out of all the people that I've been trying to reach, he's the only one that I haven't been able to reach so far.
I know, as you said, it's going to come down to a lot of mental toughness and what has proved to be a worst case scenario. Brian, we do thank you for joining us this morning.
You're welcome.